all I hear is 2 feet land, like 2-3 feet away from my head. So about 60 seconds later, my heart stops beating so fast, and I can now hear it walking by my head, right? It's just ever so slightly, just 1 foot, after the other, kind of just crunching on the grass beside me. And I'm just like, oh my God, okay, this is real. What am I supposed to do here? I'm at a total disadvantage. I keep getting in and out of these fear modes, and it keeps walking around me. And I finally decided, like, okay, I'm just going to turn, and then I'm going to crack my head over my left shoulder and see if I can, give it a glance of whatever this is. And yeah, it was a life-changing experience, because I'm still in my head, I'm still there, and I'm still hearing that.
This is Bigfoot Crossroads. My name's Matt, and joining me is Logan. Logan is an individual that was connected by a former guest on the show that has this interesting camera project going on, but he's also a Bigfooter. So we're going to talk about all sorts of things this episode. Logan, thanks for joining me, man.
Great to be here.
So let's just start at the beginning. How did you get hooked up with Bigfoot?
It was destiny. No. My dad was always really into Coast to Coast when I was a kid, and he would tell me stories about all the guests that came on that show. So it was always paranormal stuff, Bigfoot stuff. It was super interesting. So I kind of, before podcast got big, I always listened to that station, and so I was always pretty intrigued by Bigfoot and everything that was Bigfoot, and always loved hearing all the stories. And then kind of when I got older and started finding podcasts, it was a little late to the podcast game, but 2019, 2020, I started digging into podcasts, and I heard an individual say, hey, come out, and if you don't believe me, come out and join me. I've got this habituation site and all these things. And, that just like, okay, well, I really tired of being an armchair quarterback for Bigfoot. So I need to get out there and do this. So, this guy says they're out there. I want to go out there and see if they're real. So that's kind of where I started with it. So I've been going out to mainly this site for the last 4-5 years now, and having tons of activity, interactions, and trace evidence, and you name it, close encounters. So that's kind of what started me on the road to Bigfoot.
We're just going to tear the Band-Aid off, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So the individual you're talking about is a guy by the name of Todd Standing. And
yep, that's Todd.
Todd is very controversial in the Bigfoot world because Todd has put out some pretty amazing images, videos, and claims. And everybody's pretty much divided. You either think that the videos are real or you think that the videos are fake. You're a pretty smart guy, man. Where are you at with the whole thing? I mean, you've been to the property. You've called him on his bluff, so to speak. He did put out the challenge and you answered. So what's the skinny?
I think Todd pretty much tells people that I'm one of his biggest skeptics. Like, I always analyze his evidence and overanalyze it and try to quantify it. So I'll put that out front, that when I first went out there, I was more open-minded and trying to see what was there than closed-minded. So I just, figured I did like at least 2 months of cursory research on his videos and tried to find debunked stuff and tried to find people that were talking about a lot of his stuff. And There was good and bad out there, but I couldn't find anything that was like damning to me that said that his videos were like totally faked. I found a bunch of people saying, well, he hoaxed it and it's taxidermy and it's a robot and it's this and that. And I'm like, whoa, I don't understand like how you like where's the evidence for that? And so I was more or less on the train of just trying to be an open mind when I went out there. But I couldn't find anything that was quote unquote, just a silver bullet saying that this stuff he's doing is hoaxing, right? So
Right.
to me, it's like, well, innocent until proven guilty. That's and I just kind of want to see what he had. I haven't heard anyone go out in public and say, if you don't believe me, come out here, right? Most hoaxers don't do that. They say, believe it and don't try to find the evidence. So that's what I did. And from my standpoint, just knowing Todd and just knowing him as a person for the last 4 or 5 years, he's a really honest guy. Um, I've listened to probably about almost every story he has to tell at this point, and he never, like I'll be in the background. He never breaks the storyline, in my opinion. Like it's always the same. He never over embellishes. And he might forget like certain days or times, like we all do, but I've never heard him, go off the rails and kind of add more to his story. So I'll give him credit for that. But I think his evidence is genuine. That being said, if someone's out there that can, for a shadow of a doubt, prove that it's not, I'm open to listen to it. Like I'm not in the church of Todd at all. So
Right.
I'm open to whatever people have to say, and I don't try to convince anyone that of his evidence, and I just try to follow the evidence and see where it leads me. So I try to go in that direction and just see where it takes me. So I think his stuff is genuine, and he's, in my opinion, he's a good guy, and I don't and and not to put him down at all. Like I said, he's a great guy, but I don't think he has the capability to hoax these videos. Just kind of seeing the way he's organized, it takes a lot to be able to do something like that, and it's just not in his wheelhouse. He's just kind of a straight shooter, outdoorsman, tracker, wildlife guy. Loves to work out, but he's not a technical person. He's not an IT guy, and he's definitely not a costume designer, robotics engineer, taxidermist. Like he has no skill sets in those areas, and he's not an organized person, right? It
Right.
takes a lot of organization. Takes a lot of organization to do a video like that. So I'm in the camp that, like I said, if someone can come at me with real real evidence that says this is how he did it and actually reproduce it, I'll definitely look at it.
I'm kind of at the point now with it all that I don't really care. I'm just saying if the videos or whatever are fake, if he has fake stuff in the past, that doesn't matter to me. The point is, he does have an area that people go to that are like yourself, not necessarily connected to him in any way until they go there. And from everything that I've heard about the location, is its ideal habitat for these things. Assuming that they're out there in this area, they would be there. And a lot of people that have gone have come away with experiences, and you're one of those people. So let's talk about that. What's some of the experiences that you've had whenever you've been out there?
I've had a little bit of everything, to be fair. The first trip out there was, I mean, I saw and heard a lot of stuff. The second day I was there, we were at the gifting area, and he was kind of just going over what his methodology is and kind of what he's experienced. And it's 11 a.m. in the morning, and we're talking about tree knocks and rock knocks and all these things, and we're putting these apples up like 15 feet in this tree and pegging them down. And he's going over, you know, what it's, you know, what he thinks. And this was years ago, so his opinion may have changed of what some of these knocks are, but he was thinking at the time they were like rock knocks, so like hitting the tree with a rock rather than a piece of wood, just because the sound that comes off of it is just so loud. He just didn't think you could reproduce that with a wood on wood. And so we ended up doing this rock knock on this tree that's one of the gifting trees, and just to show how hard it was and the sound it makes. And you know, we ended up listening for something. We just kind of sat there for about 40 seconds, and we got this huge bang callback, and it was whatever we did, just 5-10 times louder. I have no idea how anything could make anything that loud, because it was, I'd say, 400 yards to the north of us, and it sounded like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's so loud. It was a definite response, and we found evidence of like going in that direction of these footprints going up the hill, and how far set they were, and how they were in a perfect alignment going up this hill, and there was no way. So you know, I've seen that. I've seen tracks there that are 19 inches in length and six inches wide and 3 inches deep in the substrate that is not in a substrate that's not moss. It's like hard ground, and it takes something over 1,000 pounds to get into that and make that indention 3 feet in the ground where that location was. So. And I've never seen anything like it before. And we found it. He didn't. Like, he didn't lead us to this track. We were searching in the woods for tracks in 100 yards radius around his base camp. And me and another guy named Craig really found it. And I was finding these juvenile tracks that were probably 30 feet away. And he found this big monster track that Todd calls a boom track, where they just hit the ground really hard and stomp. You know, there's only one track there. I guess it's a dominance thing, maybe. I have no idea, but I mean, it's unless you're there looking at it, if you take a picture of it, you just can't like really see the awe of how big this thing is. But it's, you know, and I've had experiences where we did calls, and I've heard trees get ripped down. They've taken the apples from the gifting tree, that are the gifting area that we put out, and they've moved apples into different trees and spiked them into other trees that are even taller, and that makes no sense. They've taken other marbles, they've moved rocks around. I've been in the middle of them whistling in between me and another person, and then I believe I've heard a lot of sounds out there, and I'm kind of scouring over some of the top stuff that I can get into more of a scenario based things, but so I'm just trying to give a reference point for all the stuff that have happened out there with me, and I'd say it's about 75 to 80% of the time there's activity. There's only one time I went out there when there was really nothing, right? And that's the time where I went and hiked up the mountain that he went up with Survivor Man in his series. So I wanted to get up that mountain and look at that tree where they took the apples and the power bars, and just give a reference point of where it was and how high it was, and would it be easy to get up there. And I wanted to stay up there and see if anything happened. And it's like a 6 to 8 hour trek up this mountain. And, you know, nothing happened. And I slept up there on the side of this 65-degree angle. And, you know, I thought it was awesome. But I looked at this tree, and it's in the side of this mountain, and it's on the edge of a cliff. So there's just no way that footage could have been faked or hoaxed or anything. It's like, I would never walk over there in the middle of the dark. You would fall right off. It's like a 200-foot drop, and it's right on the edge. And this there's another tree right beside it that's like upside down and planted in the rock. That doesn't make any sense. So to me, just seeing all that in that area was awesome. Just knowing that, yeah, that footage that Survivor Man caught on his motion censored cameras were, it makes no sense how they could be there and then not be there, unless they're extremely agile and can move quicker than the response time of that camera. So that's the only thing I can think of.
I wanted to ask you about the apple thing. You said that some of the apples that you pegged to trees were moved to different trees and pegged.
Yeah, so we'll kind of climb these trees a bit or stand on each other's shoulders and put them on these end blunt pieces of the tree. Mm-hmm. And there was a few instances where we put them up in this one tree and then they were moved 20 feet. I guess it would be, what would it be? I guess it would be east. And this tree was we probably put them up like 10 feet in this one tree, and they moved them to a completely different tree, like 20 feet in the air, and they were stuck on branches. And I don't know any animals that would do that.
No. How would a person do that in the middle of the night with other people around without anybody noticing?
Well, I couldn't even climb that tree. Like, I don't know how they would do it. So to me, it's like, well, that doesn't make any sense. How could these be moved? And then they kind of do what they want with the apples. Like I said, I've been out there 4 or 5 times, and they take them. I'd say 40% of the time when I'm there, right? They just do what they want. They don't have any kind of, they don't care about what we think. They're just like, well, I'll take them if I want to, or they're juveniles and they're just messing with us. I don't know, but yeah, they definitely take them, and we can definitely tell if it's, like a bird or something pecking on a apple. We'll just take that off and throw it away if they sit out there too long. But they'll be completely gone, like nothing left, no peel, nothing on the ground, and they're pretty high up, so we know it's not like a deer or anything like that trying to climb this tree to get to them. And we'd see the way the substrate is around the trees. We'd see bear prints if it was some kind of bear, and it wouldn't make sense. There'd be some trace evidence of some animals trying to take it. It'd be at least some kind of rind on the ground or something. So yeah, it is what it is. I don't know how to explain it, but they're definitely taking them.
Are you experiencing any stuff that kind of falls outside of the realm of, I don't know, typical wildlife type behavior? I mean, obviously Bigfoot doesn't behave like typical wildlife, but I mean something of higher intelligence. Are you hearing talking? Is there any sorts of communication that you're witnessing taking place? People talk about glyphs and things like that. Are you experiencing any of that stuff up there?
I've been experiencing glyphs myself. I know some other people that have been up there, including Todd, that they've moved some glyphs and put them somewhere else. And the people that have gone out there have specifically put certain types of rocks in certain types of places, and they'll be moved across base camp to another spot and put into like a circular pattern with that rock in the middle of it, right? Mm-hmm. So things like that have happened, just not to me. I've done experiments with like tennis balls and things that are playful to see if maybe I'll walk around during the day and just throw this blue tennis ball up in the air, right? And just see if they would notice me playing with this thing, and I'll leave it around base camp to see maybe if they take it, right? Just in random spots.
Right.
And they don't take it for me. I don't know whether that's...
They just don't like you.
Right, or if they just I don't want to, that doesn't interest me, or I have no idea. But they seem to take I know they've taken some marbles, and I know they've taken some other things that some people have left that are more like homeopathic things, like mushrooms and stuff like that, that seem to be maybe of interest to them. But yeah, I've heard from other people that they like the color blue, or if they'll go out into a field and kick a ball around, and then other researchers will say that, and then they'll say the balls move the next day. So I'm just trying like different things that I hear other people that works for other people, but it doesn't necessarily work for me. As far as like talking, I'd say there is some kind of form of communication. I haven't heard the chatter or the samurai stuff. I've heard, and I have this on footage of during the middle of the day. They just surrounded us, and it's 2:25. We hear this really long-winded howl. Is the best way I could describe it. And 2 minutes later, there was these whoop hoots, kind of like I don't. I could tell you what the frequency is on some of it, but I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. But very interesting sounds, but it came from every direction around us, and it was coordinated. And it was like north, west, south, east, northwest. There was like 5 of them, and they all sounded off one after the other in a intelligent way, like kind of almost like saying with the other ones where they are almost. But it was interesting because I've never heard anything else out there do that, and it was the middle of the day, and most anyway, I don't know how to explain it, but they were like these hoots, and then we went out right after that into the forest and kind of sat out there thinking, well, okay, well, they're here, maybe they'll interact with us. And in my opinion, they did, because we sat out there for 30 minutes, kind of just being still and quiet, meditative, if you want to call it that. And Todd saw something in front of him, and then another guy started filming in front of him when he said, "I see you." And Todd got this, I'd call it just a nasty video of like a weird blob. But the other guy to his left, he got this amazing footage of a Bigfoot that's completely camouflaged. You can't see it at all until it moves, and it moves from the middle of the screen when you're watching the video to the left, and you see its legs. You see they're black. You see they're hairy. You see the foot. You can kind of see the top of the head a bit and a little bit of the body through the tree foliage. But you see the legs move, and you see it just gradually move off from one side of the screen to the other. And it's right in front of this individual, I'd say about 60 feet away from him. And he didn't notice it one bit. And we didn't notice it on the footage till months later. And it was, I think it's really good evidence, because I know it's not any of us. And it's definitely, to me, it looks like a smaller individual, juvenile, maybe. It's hard to tell because I need to get out there and measure exactly where it was. But yeah, it was pretty amazing. And I know without any shadow of a doubt that was a Bigfoot, and that we captured that on film. And I think Todd's going to eventually just release it. The individual that filmed it, he just pretty much, he wants Bigfoot to be discovered, and he wants people to know that they're real. And he was out there to prove it to himself. Like, he was like 80% there, and that put him over the edge. he was so happy to find it. And I was happy for him. Like, I was ecstatic about it, because it's definitely a Bigfoot, and it's literally right there in front of us, and we didn't see it. So that tells me that if we didn't see one, we didn't probably see the other 4 that were around us.
I mean, that's typically how it works, right?
Yeah.
So whenever you're talking about things like they've taken marbles or they've taken the mushrooms, how do you know it's them taking it and not just like a raccoon or a crow or something like that?
I don't know for sure. I'll preface that. I can't say without 100% doubt that it wasn't an animal. The only things around there are squirrels, for the most part. And the location we put this or I didn't do it. Another individual did. It was on this down tree that's really close to the base camp. It's probably 15 feet away from anybody. And I've never seen any of those squirrels while I'm out there or on footage actually come into the actual center part of base camp and actually kind of mosey through there. They usually always stay in the tree line. So the objects were bigger in nature, and the marble wasn't like a tiny marble. It was, like one of those quarter size ones. So it doesn't make a lot of sense. But I can't say definitively unless I had the camera pointed to it that it was. I just think the evidence correlates to it.
Right. You told me a story of an experience you had. I believe it was at base camp, and I asked you if Todd was accounted for whenever it happened, and you said that he was asleep at the time. I think everybody was asleep, and you had stayed up, or you woke up or something.
Yeah, and this is kind of what started me on the project, to be honest. Like this certain event started me on the next leg of my journey. So this was in, let's see, trying to think. It was in the middle of 2023, and the whole time I was there, I was kind of just wanting the urge to just stay outside on my own to see if I could get more interaction that way. Because most people, when they're out there, they stay in the group. They don't want to like go off on their own. There are grizzlies out there. There's black bears. There's mountain lions. It really is bear country. I've seen probably 5 big 800-pound grizzlies out there, and I've seen at least 8 black bears. So it's not, it's in the middle of nowhere. It's 60 miles away from any town and pretty much in smack dab in the middle of these mountains. So it's definitely just raw country out there. So people don't like to venture out from this camper that most people will sleep in. It's just a metal shell to protect them from, wildlife. So I more or less wanted to stay out under the stars, and it would drizzle some nights and wake up and it'd be damp, and I don't really want to sleep in the wet. So I kept trying to find spots to go. I couldn't really think of a great spot around there. So I just decided like 2 days before I was leaving that I would just stay, by the fire outside and not sleep in the RV. And so I slept by the fire in a just a sleeping bag and a pillow. And it was, everyone else went to bed. It was about 1:00 in the morning. Another guy I was with, his name's Dan. He likes to just sit there with a knife and whittle some wood. So he kind of just likes doing that. So he was out there with me, and he was asking me if I mind if he sat out there for a while, and I didn't mind. So he was out there, and then I woke up around 3:30, and I looked over, and he was passed out snoring in this lawn chair, was like 5 feet away from me. So he didn't even realize he fell asleep out there, and I wasn't going to wake him. So I just said, okay, well, I'll let him sleep. And then I was in and out of trying to sleep because I had a little bit of anxiousness, thinking maybe I was get some interaction if I was out there. About 4, I say somewhere between 4 and 4:30, Dan gets up, puts a log on the fire, and he goes inside of the RV that's 30, 40 feet away, and he tells me goodnight. And then he doesn't say why. He didn't say why he got up. But later on in the morning, after I was talking to him about it, he said he got up because he's hearing a bunch of noise behind him, and he didn't know what it was, and it was making him scared. So, that's nice of him. Yeah, so that's nice of him not to tell me, but it's all good. So it's 30 minutes after he goes in. Of course, this is the only 30 minutes I've really truly been alone, and I'm out there, and I'm halfway asleep. And I open my eyes, and it's a little after 5, but the sun's coming up, and it's mountain time in the summer. So the sun, there's not a lot of nighttime in the summer there. So I didn't know that. I thought it was like 6:30 or 7 because I'm from Texas. And And I see a little bit of blue sky and a little bit of a dawn, and I literally said in my head, I said, okay, well, it's morning time. Then I'm not going to get any interaction. I can sleep better knowing nothing's going to happen. So I literally roll on my back, and I'm at an angle towards the fire. It's a pit, so there's kind of like this hill around this pit, and I lay on my back and I put my hands on my chest. And right when I do that, this Bigfoot apparently was right behind me, staring me down, trying to figure me out on why I'm outside. And it jumps backwards, and I all I hear is 2 feet land, like 2-3 feet away from my head. Like I scared it enough when I turned that it jumped backwards and jolted. And I was more or less in a state of, I don't know, I'd call it fear, because I was halfway asleep and not expecting it. And my heart was beating really fast. And I had my right eye that was farther away from this individual, kind of cracked, and my one that was my left eye that was closer to him was all the way shut because I didn't really know what to do. So all I could see was a little bit of blue coming into one eye, and the other eye was all the way. And I was trying to get my heart to stop beating, and it's so I just said in my head like, I need to calm down and make sure I heard what I heard. So about 60 seconds later, my heart stops beating so fast, and I can now hear it walking by my head, right? It's just ever so slightly, just 1 foot, after the other, kind of just crunching on the grass beside me. And I'm just like, oh my God, okay, this is real. What am I supposed to do here? I'm at a total disadvantage. I'm at an angle, laying on my back. I don't have any weapons. I don't have anything, right? So I'm thinking in my head, what could this be? Could it be a bear? I'm like, no, I don't think so, because I only hear 2 feet. So I'm just going over it in my head. I'm just like, okay, I am hearing this. This is real. What do I do? And I keep getting in and out of these fear modes, and it keeps walking around me. And I finally decided, like, okay, I'm just going to turn towards the fire so I don't startle this thing. And then I'm going to crack my head over my left shoulder and see if I can, give it a glance of whatever this is. And by the time I did that, it had basically just, ninja vanished. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know where it went. I didn't hear it leave. Like I said, they are super agile. And I mean, the only reason I could even hear it walking on the ground is because it was right beside my head. And it was such a light step and such a light foot. It was really graceful. So I don't know what to say about it other than that was like the closest I've ever been to one. Besides, there was another time where I think we might have treed one, but it's yeah, it was a life-changing experience because I mean, I'm still in my head, I'm still there, and I'm still hearing that. So that kind of put me towards the Livestream project I've been working on for the last 2 years or year and a half.
How close do you think it was to you?
I mean, probably 2 feet. I mean, it was close. Like I heard it. I know I can. You can tell when someone's close to you, and when
Yeah.
it was close. It was definitely close to me, and if I had the gumption to actually look and not be as fearful as I was, I probably would have got an eyeful of and I don't know how it would have took me, to be honest. I was trying to figure out if it knew I was awake, or if it, I was trying to almost mind speak in the sense of like, well, if these things know what you're thinking, then it knows I'm awake. And I was like, I don't know if it does or not. So I don't know. There's lots of thoughts that went through my head. So
yeah,
it is what it is. So next time that does happen to me, I'm definitely going to look. But I just was not expecting it. Totally caught off guard.
I experienced something very similar one time, but I was inside a tent. And I know it's just a thin tent wall, but for some reason that feels like way more protection than just being out in a sleeping bag.
Yeah, I could see how that how that would do that.
But I also experienced, like, I mean, whenever I heard this thing, it was taking those same steps that you're talking about, just those real methodical, slow, purposeful steps, trying to be quiet. And it was right by my head, right outside the tent. I heard a bunch of stuff. I've told the story a bunch, but whenever I did eventually work up the courage to come out of the tent, it was just that whole ninja vanish thing like you're talking about. I didn't hear anything run off, nothing. It was just poof, gone.
Yeah, they're good at what they do. I'll give them that. Masters of their environment.
So you mentioned this live streaming project that you're working on. What were the obstacles? Like, what has been the issues in your mind that we haven't already gotten all these videos from game cams and security cams and whatever? And how did you go about solving those issues?
I think it's kind of hearsay that people say that they get scared from cameras and game cams. Like, it's possible, but like it's not, to me, it's not proven, right? I think game cams can be pretty um, visual, and you can tell what they are, and especially if you know the environment, or if you see someone put it up, like it's it's going to be noticeable to something that knows the area and the forest. So I don't really know for sure, but um, so as far as that goes, I mean, game cams they're just like, since they go off based off of motion, right, for the most part. And there is delay, and they're only as good as, I know there's some that'll buffer and some of the motion, but it's not a continuous feed. It's not, you can't see what happened throughout the day. I want something that I can see 24 hours a day of everything that happened in that area, start to finish. So that's one thing as far as game cams do. Then there's a lot of good ones out there, and the technology is getting really good. And there's nothing against game cams, but they just won't do what I need them to do, because I need them to be basically closed looped um, security cameras that can feed to the public. So game cameras really aren't designed that way. They're designed to be fed to whoever put the person there, and they're not fully adequate, and they're really designed for wildlife and deer and whatever hunters are trying to hunt. Right?
Right.
They're not designed for Bigfoot. So that's what I'm trying to do, is design something around the Bigfoot phenomenon, and like how to do it, how to go about it. So, and people, when they put out cameras and they do research, it's hard to do that, and it's hard to find habituation areas. And a lot of these people that are on TV, they'll go to some place for maybe a day or two, three at the most, and they're just hoping for the best in those 3 days, and they leave, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, that's not a long time to research, and they could not even be in the area, and you don't even know what's going to happen. So it's kind of, you got that, and you have the people that are really into the subject, and they have full-time jobs, and they'll go out on the weekend and see what they get. But that's probably a Saturday, and it's the weekend kind of warrior, and then they're hungrier for the next time they get to go out, right? So it's not the best way to research. Like, you got to be out there all the time. You got to be out there for months and months and months until you figure out, you know, what's going on. So that's kind of my thought process. After I had that interaction, I was telling Todd, I'm like, we really got to get like cameras in base camp. Like, these things are, I mean, they literally came up to me 20 feet from this RV, and they didn't care. Like, I mean, there's technology all over the RV if you really want to look at it as technology. There wasn't cameras, but I mean, plenty of electrical equipment. There's some solar stuff. There's a little bit of everything. So I don't know if they know what a camera is. I don't know any of that. And I don't think anyone really does. They just kind of think they know everything. So I said, well, let's put some cameras up, but let's just do it right. Let's get it to where, I mean, Todd's always like he wants the discovery done. He wants people to know it. So let's get the discovery done and let's let people know it, but let's share it with everyone, right? So that's what I started doing the end of 2023 is figuring out how I could do that and what it would take and the infrastructure and the right cameras and the right protocols and the right architecture and the right power load and everything else and the right, like, how do I build a way to make it to where people can log in and view these live streams, and how do I do it at cost that's not going to break me, and all these things, right? So there's a million different things that I'm not an expert in that I have to learn to be an expert in. But my background is in IT engineering, so I have a lot of IT skills, less power, DC AC conversion, like skill sets. Like I had to learn all this stuff as I go. So there's just a lot to it. And, I'm not a cameraman either, right?
To start with, was there anything on the consumer market readily available that you could just buy and implement into this system?
So there's a lot of cameras out there, but I really wanted it to be the most simplistic, high resolution, less of a hack job that I could get, right? So I wanted something off the shelf, but I also wanted it to be compatible with my infrastructure to where I could push the feed over Starlink and that go to the right back end, and where I don't have to convert the stream from one protocol to another, so I don't have to do all these like middle tier things. So really, I spent a month just looking for the right camera that was affordable, had a microphone, had a tilt pan zoom capability, had high like close to 4K resolution, had the capabilities to me remotely manage it, all these functionalities that most cameras don't, right? So I I finally found what I needed, and I bought one, and then I bought another one, and then I bought another one just for field testing. And they're extremely good cameras, and they're really durable, and they're waterproof, and they're high temperature, low temperature. They're really good rated, and IP 65, 67, whatever you want to call it. They're really good cameras. I can't say they're American made, but they're good cameras. um, so I started with that, and then I kind of just built everything around it. And like I said, I tested it at my home and put them all up around, and was playing with them in my office for months and trying to get the settings right and the fine tuning, and mounted them to these 2x6s and would put them outside and test the IR at night and test how they stream and the video quality and everything else, right? So all that being said, those are the first ones I implemented in 2024 when I put it out and released the app and did all that. Was I had two of these relatively good cameras. I mean, there's better cameras out there, but they're $10,000-$20,000, right? So right. I was trying to make it affordable, at least for the first go around. Yeah, I mean, I got a lot of good evidence with them. They really are probably, I'd say, 5-10 times better than any kind of Ring or doorbell camera, if you want to compare it to that. And they get the job done, but I'm always looking towards to see what I can do in other systems, but I know these are reliable and they've done me well. So I've had those, and I've actually upgraded them to the latest version and the latest everything, and added external mics to them. I did a whole bunch of tweaking as far as configuration and iris and shutter settings. But yeah, they're, they get the job done. And I think that's, as far as the camera system goes, that's what I have. But on the back end, and like I said, I do automation and engineering, and I've worked in that field for like 20 years as far as computer information systems and stuff like that. So I do have a background in that area. So I know kind of the buzzwords and what people do these days. And I'm in no means an expert in, there's a lot of really, really smart people out there in technology. So I'm not saying I'm anywhere near some of these people, because there's some brilliant people out there. So I just have a vision and drive to get it done. So that's what I do. That's just how I operate. So, and then the back end, though, is what I'm saying is I'm trying to build, and this is what no one else is doing. I'm trying to build data points off of the entire feed and build a history of sounds and movement and everything else, and build an actual machine learning data model that I can put together eventually, that I can run into the system and actually implement. So I'm building all the data points, and nobody's really doing that. I'm basically parsing all the video in 2-hour chunks, and I'm looking for certain frequencies, certain amplitudes, certain movements. And it's really it's my individual way of doing it, and it's self-built. But I'm using the technology that most data scientists and even like the software and some of the models and some of the modules that machine learning people use for motion sensing and stuff like that, and vision for self-driving cars and stuff like that. So I'm using all those technologies that people that are really, smart people are using. I'm just using and focusing it towards Bigfoot. So that's what I'm using all those scripts. So I'm basically running all that against the data, and I'm building timelines on a database. And all this will be eventually available in the app, to where people can go and dig at this graph where they see all the movement and amplitude spikes and frequencies and all these things. And they can actually go look at every individual point without having to watch the entire feed and go and try to and find all those things, right? But it's all that being said, we still need people's eyes, right? A computer can't tell you. It only tell you what it knows, and it doesn't know for sure. So we still need people to actually watch all these data points, and we still need a whole community of people watching these streams and seeing, because nothing's perfect. Like, they could see something that all these different algorithms and parsing engines I'm building aren't seeing, right? So really, that's what I'm trying to do, is build a whole architecture network of camera systems and people and collaborators who we can put out there in the field in these hotspots, and really get some science involved without having to have some weird grant where we're paying someone $500,000 to go stay out in the woods. That's probably not going to be as scientific as I'm being. They're probably going to sit out there with a couple of things and try to replicate what I'm doing. So to me, it's the scientific approach of, everyone says there's no data. Well, let's get data. Let's build a model. Let's see if we can use it. And then let's share it with the entire public, and let's get everyone engaged and collaborated, and let's have the public actually do the analysis, right? Like, all the people that are interested in Bigfoot, I'm giving them an opportunity to actually be Bigfoot researchers.
From anywhere, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yep. And that's the dream. That's my goal. I mean, at the end of the day, I want it I want this discovery to happen, and I want people to know that they're real, and I want people that are really interested in the subject to, not just go off my word, to really dig into the data. Because I mean, that's pretty much what I did. I just started digging at it, and I keep finding more and more evidence that's pointing towards these are, I think they're people, but they're definitely real, right? And if that's true, then the world needs to know it, and it needs to be, actualized into reality here. Um, and I don't see why anyone would want to withhold that information from the world. Like, I think we need to know it.
I was involved in a project years ago. It was a research project on private property down in Texas. And the cameras were, fed into a VCR basically and ran for hours and hours and hours. And then you would have to, review the tapes manually, looking for anything because the cameras were just running, recording everything nonstop. I don't think all of the tapes were ever fully gone over. There was just so many hours of tape to go over that there was just not enough manpower to do it. And you're solving that problem with these data points and the machine learning to basically you're training it to recognize parameters that a Bigfoot might fall under, mark it on the footage, and then somebody will be able to log in, see the data points, go to that point in the footage and check it out and see what it actually was.
They can do that. I basically build it. Like I said, I'm a little much, but I basically build it for like an on-demand video for the last 2 weeks of every single stream I'm going to put out is going to be out there for anyone to watch the entire 2 weeks. Because that's about best I can do as far as, continuousness and cost effectiveness without basically making me go bankrupt.
But that's a lot. That's a lot of data.
The more people that actually get engaged, the more data I could keep that's not stagnant. I'm still going to keep the data on the back end for probably at the minimum 6 months before I put it in what I call cold storage, to where it takes longer to retrieve. And this is all just cloud services that I'm using, but and then eventually I can't keep it forever. So eventually I'll have to wipe it out and keep going because it's going to just be terabytes and terabytes and terabytes of data, right? But I'm putting that out there. I'm gonna, like I said, I'm writing the framework for all the graphing and data points right now. So right now it's really the live streams, it's the video on demand. It's if anyone actually sees anything, they can report it on the app, and it goes to another database of sighting reports. And right now I can just pull that up and post whatever they reported in snippets and put it into the actual app itself in another section where it's just called like user sightings, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have a handful of stuff on there for user sightings. Last year was a proof of concept. Like, we had to get all the bugs out. We had to figure out the power. We got to figure out everything. And this is for off grid, right? On grid system is totally different animal. It's a whole lot less on me as far as financial, and I don't have to build this whole architected off grid direct current power system that works off of high-end batteries and high-end solar equipment and high-end everything and the right voltage. So I could go on, but so I'm trying to get the flagship for off-grid because I know we need it, but I'm really open to people that have habituation sites where they have power, where I don't have to spend an extra $3,000 or $4,000 just to implement a off-grid system. And just set up the camera system the way it is, direct AC power, and then it's kind of plug and play at this point how I architected. But it's I'm looking for those people that are have a frequency. Could be once a month, could be once every 2 months, but some kind of frequency of interaction or sighting or sounds or something to where they're coming up to their homestead or their, a campsite or their home, their summer home, whatever it is, and putting up camera systems out there. And, they're not necessarily going to be connected to their house directly. I can run things 300 feet off, just the way I've architected it. I could probably run it 500 feet off if I wanted to. But right now I'm doing like a 300-foot limitation. And, it is what it is. And every single stream I put up is not free to me. So everyone needs to be meaningful, because I need to have real sites with real people that are really trying to figure this out, that have real interactions. I don't believe in just putting stuff out and saying, yeah, this is a Bigfoot area, and yeah, watch a video of nonsense in the middle of the woods, right?
Right.
So I'm trying to find the right people to work with, that, because I know there's a lot of people out there. I know there's a lot of organizations out there, a lot of people working on this, but it's trying to find the right people to work with that are open-minded, and the ones that really want to collaborate and actually want to push this forward, and not just kind of put their own ego in front of it and say, well, I'm going to get it done because I said I'm going to get it done, and I'm going to go do it. And, I'm not going to share it with anyone. So, I don't think that's going to get this Bigfoot, uh, phenomenon discovered. It's going to be a bunch of people working together, right? It has to be. And I'm only one person, and I'm trying to architect all this, but I'm actively reaching out to people for help. I've got some people in Pennsylvania that are actively trying to find me sites and are really helpful and awesome people. I've got some other podcasters that I know that are, doing their best to help, but it's really hard to find good, honest people that have a frequency, right? That are willing to invest in this, where, it's not really costs to them because I'm covering all the costs, but it's, a lot of people care about their privacy and some of those matters. And so there's just a lot to it.
I was just going to say, if somebody is listening that definitely has an area, private property, where they know that Bigfoot activity is taking place on a regular basis, if they're interested in having you install this camera system on their property, what does that actually mean for them? What are they going to have to do? Are they going to have to, do maintenance on the camera? Or what are their responsibilities with it?
I mean, if something did happen, maybe I'd ask them for a little bit of help to go, look at something for me. But other than that, it would just be me coming there. Right now, it's just going to be me until I can get some more people to work with me and kind of teach them how to do some of this stuff. But me going out there, doing the installation, setting everything up, really, it's just utilizing their property. And if I'm using their power, I would, offset whatever cost it is I'm taking. It shouldn't be very much. To be fair, it's probably only 100, and I've optimized it to where it's about 150 watts of power. So about 3,000 kilowatts a day. And then if they don't have internet, I'm putting a Starlink out there and I'm paying for it. They could use the internet. I mean, it's really just me, almost, being a tenant on our property trying to find Bigfoot. And every now and then, maybe if something goes down, asking if they could just go look at something. And then they kind of get, in a sense, they kind of get a closed loop security system around their property as one, or they'll get free internet, or, they would, I would give them, I'd own the footage, but I'd give them whatever they wanted as far as footage. As far as if they wanted all the data I've collected, I'd give it all to them. All the video, everything that I had, as long as it wasn't kicked off and deleted if it was been there for a while. So really, it's more about people being comfortable with it. And, there's a lot of private people that more or less think I'm trying to put cameras on the edge of their house. And it's more of like, I'd rather run it in the edge of the woods if you have woods and put it into some tree lines, right? And not have it directly pointed at him or, there's going to be cameras, there's going to be audio.
I mean, you're not trying to capture footage of them. You're trying to capture footage of the Bigfoot on their property.
Right. The further away from the actual home, if they live in the home, the better, because that gives less, people sound, less garbage to sort through, less, ambiguousness of, people just making whatever sounds they do during the day. So, I mean, that's really what it is. It's, like I said, it's just finding the right people and the right people to collaborate with. And if I had, and this is just me, if I had property and I had a constant, activity, to me, this would be like the dream solution to prove that I'm not crazy, right?
Yeah.
so
yeah, there's a lot of people that are looking, for that day where they can say, see, I told you I wasn't crazy. This is really happening. And you're helping provide that opportunity.
Yep. So, yeah, I mean, that's, other than that, I might just get him to sign a piece of paper saying, you're not going to throw my equipment in the river somewhere. Other than that,
you're not going to pawn the Starlink.
Right.
You talked about having the capabilities to set it basically 300 feet away from the power source. What kind of range does the camera itself have?
They have basically a 900-foot optical zoom, so I could get 900 feet away from where you actually mount it and actually be full optical zoom, close to about 3.5K, not full 4K. And yeah, I can do that. And so the IR will work as well, about probably half that distance, probably about 400 feet optical zoom, because it has 4 different IRs on it as far as lighting goes. So it's built it's built for that. And I also have it set where if we just have it not zoomed in and we can turn the IR off and test all of that functionality, and it'd be a really amazing picture with a little bit of moonlight. It would look almost like daytime, with no IR on, because I know there's the camp of people that say, well, IR scares them away. Well, now I can turn it off because I've tested it. It works. I know other people that have tested it and it works. So, and they've done it with these smaller cameras. And I was like, okay, well, if they can do it with that cheaper off the shelf camera, I know I can do it with this one. So I figured it out and did it. And so I can have the camera with IR on. I can program it to come on when the moon is on and the moon cycle, right? So it can be programmed and done as far as IR goes. And then the other thing that's really cool, like I said, I'm trying to work with people, and there's a lot of, I wouldn't say a lot, there's a handful of people I'm working with that are really interested in the subject and passionate about the discovery. And I've been really wanting to get thermal engaged and have like 3 reference points of data: audio, regular, optical, video, and then thermal as well. So I'm sitting next to this extremely, it's a basically it does optical and thermal at the same time. And it's a really expensive thermal camera that has a network capable, and it has all the right protocols that I need. So I've literally taken that thing out of the box today and been playing with it. And I'm going to field test it tonight, and I'm going to bring it up to Pennsylvania next week and set it out on a site, along with the other camera, and have 2 different cameras going out of Pennsylvania site. And I don't think anyone's done that, as far as a full thermal 24/7 feed of an area, as well as optical and audio of a Bigfoot, uh, known Bigfoot area. So pretty excited about that because I don't think anyone's doing that. I think most people just have the binoculars they're looking through, trying to figure out.
What kind of range does the thermal unit have?
It's really good for what it is. I'd say I want to say it said 100 to 200 feet into the woods. I don't know. I'd have to field test it to see if that's highly accurate or not.
Right.
It does have zoom functionality, but like I said, I'm still field testing it. But to me, having some form of thermal is better than having no thermal.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I've talked to a military vendor that sells thermal, and I'm still talking to them. They want probably 5 times more, but their camera, of course, is amazing. But they only sell it mainly to government agencies, the USDA service. So I'm trying to get them to sell me a camera, but I don't know. I might have to start a Kickstarter for that one because they just want so much money for it. But if I can get that one, it'll be probably quite 2 or 3 times the clarity of this one, I'm assuming. I haven't tested it, but I'm trying to figure that out on the side and see what they say.
So how many of these units do you have active in the field right now?
Active right now, I don't have any active just because of the winter, and the only site I had last year was British Columbia, and the camera system, like I said, it needed to be fine tuned. So it could get up like 10 feet of snow at this location in the wintertime and -30. So there's no way for Todd to actually get out there in the winter without a snowmobile. So that being said, I kind of just let it run as long as it could, and it's still out there as far as most of the equipment goes. So I'm going back out there in May with the new system I architected for the power. That's going to make it 10 times better as far as reliability goes. And then I'm going to set that up along with the thermal so it'll have 3 different feeds, 2 different locations, and a thermal. And then I'm going up to Pennsylvania in I think 7 or 8 days. I'm going to set a system up there. And I'm slated to go to New York, mid-state New York, and put a system there if everything works out. So by mid-May, mid to end May, I should have 3 different sites and at the minimum 6 different feeds, probably more than that, going. So right now the app just has the video on demand section of the last 2 weeks of Radium and the user clips and stuff like that. So there's nothing I can do about it because I'm looking for people to cooperate with me and work with me so I can have feeds up. I had someone in February say that they wanted to do it, and 3 days before I had everything booked to go set it up, and they basically said, I have to cancel. My family really doesn't want this. So as frustrating as that is, and having excitement and ready to get out there and do it, and this would have been in the southeast states, where the wood boogers are and the skunk apes are, right? I have to respect that. Their family just wasn't comfortable with it, and they didn't. They thought it wasn't going to be enough privacy for their family. So I just, it is what it is. I had to let go and keep moving. But I'm still trying to find people to work with in that area. So it's all about word of mouth, and it's hard to really cold contact people and have them take you seriously.
Right.
I need those intern people, kind of like you, that know a lot of folks that can do these intros for me. That's kind of what I've been doing. Other than that, I think I've got kind of a big. I don't know. He's a pretty big name of Bigfoot. I don't want to jinx it, but I think he's going to work with me as well, and that's kind of up in the air as far as when. I'm hoping in the next 30 days, and I can kind of publicize that a bit, but I'll just leave it as it is for now because, like I said, nothing's set in stone. And I don't want to say anything and make anyone angry or jinx myself. So I'm just leaving it, see where it leads me.
I mean, to me, it just blows my mind, but I know this is the case. I've been around this Bigfoot community for far too long to be naive about it. But I mean, this is a really great opportunity for people to be part of something major. And I just really hope that people will step up to the plate, you know, and let egos drop a little bit, because, you know, there's a lot of people out there that talk a big game, and like, here's a piece of equipment that could really help out the cause. You know, we could get this thing proven once and for all. And it's just going to take people, like you said, that are willing to cooperate and willing to collaborate with you and allow you to install these cameras for them. I mean, that's all that they have to do. So I'm hoping that will happen. Like I said, I wanted to have you on so we could talk about that and maybe get that ball rolling. I reached out to people. I'm still working on a list. I still have other people I'm going to reach out to on your behalf and hopefully introduce you to some people that might be able to help you out. But right now, the app is launched and people can freely sign up for the app or download the app and log on and watch the footage that you're talking about.
Yeah, they can. It's on Android. It's on Apple. Like I said, it's app based. It's not PC or Mac based, so it's not like a website to go to. Eventually, I'll get it there. I just wanted to start
Yeah.
minimum viable product, and everybody has. Most of the people these days have a smartphone, so it's just the easiest solution. But yeah, it's called Bigfoot Livestream. It's out there.
Now, are you going to be at like any of the conferences trying to network with people?
I've thought about it. I'm trying to put a lot of my energy into architecture and building out some of the software, and then just getting sites. So I have to. I've only have so much time and so much energy, and there's only one of me. So these Bigfoot conferences, they're great, and I want to go to them. I just it's hard to find the amount of time I need to do everything. I've gotten a few people that have invited me to a handful of them, and I'm going to try to make them. But I'm trying to put these field installations as like number one priority over going to some of the conferences, just because I don't really know what I'm going to get out of the conferences. And I, you know, I don't honestly, I don't even want to set up a booth at a conference. I'd rather just if they would just give me 40 minutes to speak and get it out there. And then,
Yeah.
I'm not really I'm not selling shirts and mugs and stuff like that. I'm trying to get people to cooperate and collaborate and work with me. So, like just having a microphone for 30 minutes would be amazing to me. But other than that, I just I don't want to set up a booth and try to sell merchandise. I know a lot of people do that.
The app access to the cameras and everything is free.
Well, no, it's not free. There is a subscription to it just because it has a cost to me, and I'm trying to balance the costs and have people actually be vetted in this. So I made the cost as cheap as I could, just because, like I said, it's scalable, but it's still, I've probably spent, I don't know how much money. If you talk about architecture and software development and energy and time, I've probably spent $150,000 into it already. So I'm not ever going to get that back, but I'm trying to get people to know. I'm not trying to get people to know that it's not free to me. So I just made it like $4.99 a month, which I think is reasonable because I'm given so much. So some people don't. They want everything to be free, and I'd love for that, but this is another way of not trying to do like a Kickstarter or a GoFundMe, because This is something where you can sign up for. If you don't like it, you can just say, well, unsubscribe, I'm done, right? And
of course, your time, developing the system, working on the system and all that, but the cameras and all the equipment and all the technology and everything so far has just been you out of pocket, right?
yeah, I mean, there's one guy that's kind of believes in my vision that's helped me a little bit with some of the equipment. But I'd say it's 95% me at this point. And the ongoing costs as far as storage and, pushing through Starlink. So every single site has a Starlink. Every single site's pushing storage. Every single site, I have to have a pipe of allocated of how many megabytes I can push to these endpoints. And I have to pay monthly for every single thing. And I had to pay, everything just stacks up and stacks up and stacks up.
Yeah.
And the more people that the more people that actually use it, the more cost it costs me. So until it actually equals out, the more people that actually watch the stream, it's actually costing me more money. But, not everybody thinks of those things.
I mean, I know how much it is just to operate a Starlink device to connect to the internet, which is based on like data packages pretty much. And that's crazy, man. This is clearly a passion project for you. This is not going to make any money.
The more people we get, the more money I can dump into it too, right? The more subscribers I get, the more eyes on things, the more collaboration, and then the more sophisticated equipment I can buy, and the more people I can maybe get some money to help me go do some of this stuff, right? So, it'd be great, to quit my day job and just do this full time. But until I can get everybody on board, that's not going to happen. So, so right now it's just me eating it hard, but that's okay.
If somebody's listening that wants to get into contact with you, what's the best way to do that? Should they reach out to you directly or go through me? How do you want to orchestrate that?
I have a email address. It's just a contact at bigfootlivestream.org. I set up some Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, the normal socials are out there. You can get to all that inside the app if you just download it. If you just download it, you don't have to subscribe. You can still get to my links. You can still see my contact info on there. Like I said, I'm really transparent as far as subscription goes. I put disclaimers all over it. There's no ads on here. I don't have any of that. I'm not trying to make revenue off of ads or do anything like that. It's purely Bigfoot research and data. So, I mean, that's what it's built for.
Yeah. I mean, prior to this episode, you and I talked on the phone for like an hour or so. I mean, I'm co-signing for you on this, man. This is not a gimmick. This is not a scam. This is a very intelligent guy that wants to solve this issue that we've had forever, which is Bigfoot not being proven. I'm very hopeful about this project, man. Extremely hopeful. And I hope that people out there that are listening that have, these properties that, fall under those kind of guidelines of regular activity, I hope they reach out, man. And I hope we can get the word out there and kind of get this network built.
Yeah, that would be amazing. And I totally appreciate you having me on and reaching out to people and trying to help push this forward. Like, I'm totally open to teamwork. Like I said, to me, it's all about people working together on this and sharing data, sharing, eventually if I can get this going, like, I don't see any reason not to. If I can build a model off of it, like, I can make this modular into the sense of where the camera system actually it does edge computing to where it does the model on the edge of the system to where it will look for those reference points, and maybe not as high end cameras and like I've built some sub modular systems on this, just playing with it to see what I can get out of it. So eventually we could publish a whole, if we get enough data points, a whole model of Bigfoot that the camera systems would look for on the front end sensors, right?
Yeah.
For the right frequencies, for everything. And you could, send packages of that. And anyone that has, we could have people do the research on their own, right? So, I mean, that would be another opportunity of collaboration and doing that. So anyone that actually really wants to help me can reach out to me. Like I said, it's a lot of work, and I'm one person, and I'm staying up till like 3:00 in the morning every day, waking up at 7 and doing 2 or 3 different gigs at the same time. And I've got a wife and 3 kids, and I have got a son that just beat cancer for the second time. So,
oh wow,
I got my hands full. Yeah, he's had leukemia for the last 4 years and relapsed, and yeah, he just got into remission, and I'm really hopeful he stays that way. So I got my hands full. So I'm not doing this for my health. I'm just doing it because I believe in it.
Well, Logan, I appreciate you joining me and sharing this project with me and my listeners and your stories. And I've really enjoyed it, man. I look forward to talking to you on into the future and seeing where this goes.
Yeah, for sure. I'll keep you posted, and if I get any good evidence in the next few months here, I'll definitely let you know.
If you've had an encounter with Bigfoot or something else you can't explain and you'd like to share your story on Bigfoot Crossroads, email me at bigfootcrossroads@gmail.com. Check out the website, bigfootcrossroads.com. You can find links to social media, past episodes, merchandise, everything you need, all in one place. And until next time, remember, there's something in the woods.